We have about 5 other people coming in, so if they come in, we'll just have to try and make room. I think everybody knows me, but if you don't know me, my name's Dr. Ross. Welcome. So we've got our biggest class of the year. I always call it the biggest class of the year because basically just about everyone wants to lose weight. Even if you're in good shape, you want to lose weight, and we'll show you how to do that. But just like you probably read over the chart here, losing weight is, and I say this to a lot of people, but losing weight is a lot less about what you eat and how you exercise than it is about changing this. So you change this, the weight comes off. You change your diet, you change your exercise, you can go to the Atkins diet, you can go to the New Age diet, you can go to the South Beach diet, you can go to Weight Watchers, you can go to LA Weight Loss, you can go to all those programs, and guess what? They all work. And statistically, they all work because of 2 factors. And those 2 factors are the people were highly motivated to lose weight. So it doesn't matter what program it was, they were motivated to lose weight. And the second is they stuck to it. So they didn't give up, they didn't cheat, they didn't run off, they didn't get, carried away with something else. They were motivated and they stuck to it. So that brings up the question that if you really want to lose weight, and it's not so much about losing weight, because I know we all have this vision of what the perfect body is. And it's this little teeny thing, or with the abs and the muscles and whatever it is. But that's not really healthy. It could be healthy, but we're talking about what is truly healthy for you. And that may not be the teeny abs, muscles, the whole thing. So the reality is we don't necessarily try and lose weight. We try and change the way you view food and the way you eat. And that way, your body naturally finds its own weight, its own balance. That makes sense? So in other words, and I know it's, with Tim Tebow and all this talk about God, I know it's hard to understand, but God made us, and He made us perfect on the inside, so that if we're eating perfectly, we naturally move to the perfect weight. That's kind of how it works. Our body's already got the thermostat set, and if we have messed with that thermostat, we just need to reset it so that everything comes back into balance. And that means hormonally, that means mentally, that means physically, that means chemically. That makes sense? So we talk about the different types of maximized living diets, and that's how we kind of gauge someone. You'll see on the 30-day challenge, I've given you 3 levels. So everybody in here should be able to do my challenge. It's fairly easy to do. It's only 30 days. But why do you think we use 30 days as that challenge number? Why 30 days?
Because it seems like an obtainable goal.
Speak up, Dee. It makes a habit. So 30 days is specific for turning something into a routine or into a habit. So yes, it is kind of attainable. I mean, anyone can do 30 days. But if you do something for every day for 30 days, it becomes rhythm. It becomes a habit. And you keep doing that because it's now sort of a habit. So for example, let's say that you get up half an hour early every day for 30 days. Your wake-up thermostat is changed to 1/2 earlier. So that means that you wake up a half an hour early even without the alarm clock. That makes sense? Because it's become a habit. You're engraving yourself there. So we'll talk about mental change, physical change, chemical change, because if you're going to lose weight, you have to do all those things. But like I said, the first and the most important change you make is mental. Because if you decide here that you're going to lose weight, it has to be done here, by the way, then all else follows. So for example, I go to school sometimes and I teach the kids. And I say, hey, here's a chocolate bar and here's an organic apple. What's healthier? And then we're talking grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, it doesn't matter. What do you think the kids say? They all say the apple, 100%. They know that chocolate bars are not good for them. So it's not a lack of knowledge that makes the kids eat the chocolate bar. It's a lack of understanding of what the chocolate bar actually does to them. By the way, if I said, okay, you can have either one, which one do you want? They'd take the chocolate bar 100% of the time. I mean, that's because kids react, that they don't have this mental thought about what the chocolate or what the candy or what the high fructose corn syrup and all the chemicals involved in that chocolate bar do to you. So part of the process of losing weight and changing your diet is to understand how food works in your body. Here's the cool thing though. Like I said, God created us and God created the food. So when you eat the food that is right for your body, it's like a puzzle, a piece of a puzzle. Everything fits together. So your digestive enzymes fit that food. And then your small intestine, the absorption qualities fit that food. And then when that food is circling through your system, our bodies fit that food. And so that food becomes us in every single way possible. It's like a perfectly fit piece of a puzzle. Whereas when we eat chemicals, let's say we eat a vitamin pill. So a vitamin pill is good for us, right? It has all the vitamins and the minerals and all that kind of stuff. But since it's not natural for our body, a lot of the enzymes sit around and go, what is this stuff? We don't know what to do. There's nothing for us to digest here. And so we don't use a lot of that. And then the absorption qualities, there's a lot of things that are left untouched because there's no fibers there. There's no what we call nutraceuticals. There's no things holding the vitamins. It's just pure vitamins. And so it's not perfect for our body. Even though it's good for our body, it's not perfect. So the perfect way to get your vitamins and minerals is to eat what we call God-made foods, right? What's a God-made food?
Apple.
Yeah, a naturally grown apple, something that comes in its most natural state. It's, natural state. So a raw apple would be a great example. How about a Twinkie? You know that Hostess has claimed bankruptcy just recently. I'm very sad about that. A lot of people are going to be detrimentally affected by the Wonder Bread that's not on the shelves, which it'll be on the shelves. Someone will buy them out and so forth. So let's talk about mental change, because this is the biggest thing that you can do. If you take one thing from my talk tonight, decide on changing this. It might just be something easy like, I'm going to read a lot more about nutrition. I'm going to educate myself about nutrition. I'm not going to change my diet. I'm just going to educate myself about nutrition. When you educate yourself about nutrition, what else changes? Your diet. You start thinking differently about food and you start understanding food, you make better choices when you're in the grocery store. We talk about the big why. The big why is, why do you want to lose weight in the first place? If it's so you can look better in a bikini, for the men in here, please don't say that. But if you want to look better in a bathing suit or whatever it is, that's not a very good why. And that's why people fail so often. Across the board, you look at all the dietary plans, they all have almost a similar failure rate. Anyone know what that is? Wild guess? 94% failure rates on dietary plans. 94%. And that includes places that you live there. So like the Weimar Institute and stuff like that, where you actually live there and they cook for you and they force you to exercise like the Biggest Loser. 94% is almost across the board. So are these plans successful? In 6% of the cases they are. 6%. So how do you make something successful? You make permanent changes. Don't necessarily make your weight loss the big change. Why do you want to lose the weight? So maybe it's like for me, I want to be in good health so that I can play with my kids till the time I'm 90 and beyond. Or maybe it's I've got dependents, like I've got kids that are dependent on me and I want to make sure I'm able to work for them and help them and all that kind of stuff. That's a bigger why. I want to make sure I don't make the same mistakes as my parents and die of heart attacks or strokes or cancers or whatever it is, that your parents may have or may not have had, or your grandparents. So those are big whys. And what I recommend is that you take on the notes section, write down your big why. Do it before you leave. You can write it down now if you want. Why? For my kids. For my, I want to be there for my husband, or I want to be there for my wife. I want to be there for my grandkids. All those things are good. But if it's purely so you can, go out and buy new clothes because you want to look better in your clothes or something like that, not a very strong why. Make sense? So the second thing that comes under the mental standpoint is planning. So you want to plan for success. And I always say, if you, let's say, and we're going to talk about the paleo diet, but if you plan your week out and you know what meals you're going to have, you know what you're going to eat, and you go to the supermarket and you buy the stuff you need for that week, and you have it in the fridge, and maybe you even prepare it on Sunday, so you have it all prepared, ready to go, and just needs to be cooked or it needs to be eaten or whatever it is. You're going to follow that plan and you're going to be successful. But what happens if you don't plan? If you just sort of go, I wonder what I want to eat today. Well, there's a place. There's Wiener Schnitzel. There's whatever. What if you go to a baseball game, the River Cats or something like that, and you didn't bring any snacks or any foods with you, you didn't plan? What are you likely to eat? Do you think they have paleo foods in the concession stand? No, you get hungry, that's what you're going to eat. So planning is a huge thing, and planning stems on the mental side, because if you take the time and plan, and I usually say Sunday is your best day. It's certainly the best day for me. So Sunday evening, I kind of stop and I say, well, what are we going to do? What are we going to eat this week? And so my wife and I, we get together and we powwow and we say, okay, this is what we're going to do and this is how we're going to eat. And we say, this is kind of my choices for breakfast, this is my choices for lunch, this is my choice for dinner. And then you do that. And then you go shopping, you pick up what you need. By the way, do you go hungry to the supermarket? Always eat. So plan before you go to the supermarket. You eat before you go to the supermarket so you're not hungry, and that way you don't, do all the impulse shopping, the junk food. You notice that right before the cashier, it's all the terrible junk food, the stuff like the salty stuff and the sweet stuff that you might put into your cart. So you plan, and that's a big part of the mental side, is plan what you're going to do. Now we're going to talk about what to eat and when to eat it and all that kind of stuff, but planning and getting that on the books is very important. Get up 30 minutes each day and relax. Have breakfast, read or meditate or pray. So I recommend, there's nobody in here and no one can convince me that they couldn't get up 30 minutes early. I just don't believe it. But you get up 30 minutes early, use that 30 minutes to plan your day, to think about how you're going to eat, to think about what you're going to do, how you're going to exercise, how you're going to run your day, and you'd be amazed at the changes you'll make. And this is just mental side. Even if you don't make it to all those things, if you get up 30 minutes, maybe you have a little sheet that you use and you kind of go, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Maybe you just go through the fridge or the pantry and you look at what foods you have to create the food with. Maybe you're saying, wow, I need to go to Trader Joe's or Whole Foods or wherever it is and get some snacks so that I have snacks with me so that I'm never without something to chomp on. Whatever it is, but 30 minutes before you wake, you normally wake up. So if you normally wake up at 7 o'clock, you get up at 6:30, get yourself out of bed, get yourself moving, make that a habit, and plan your day. And like I said, meditate, pray. That just puts yourself in a different mental state. Make sense? So physical change. Now we'll talk about training and exercise, because we all know that when you plan to lose weight, there's two factors. There's the calories that we consume, right? And then the other side of the scale is the calories that we use. And if we exactly balance the calories in versus the calories out, what happens to our weight? Stays exactly the same. But if we have one that goes, if the calories that we use is higher than the calories out, what happens? We lose weight. So we're using more than we're taking in. And if it goes the other way, then we're gaining weight, right? So we know we have to change the scale. What happens if we really change the scale? So if we're eating nothing and we're exercising all day, what happens? What's that? Yeah. Your body goes into an emergency state. It's a starvation state. And then it really holds on to the fat, right? So you have to use your exercise wisely, and I'll talk about this a little bit more, but exercise can be done correctly and exercise can be done incorrectly. One of the reasons, anyone go to the burst training class that I had? Few people. So one of the reasons that I really like burst training is it's short duration but high intensity. So in other words, it doesn't stress your body out like 45 minutes on the treadmill. And when you don't stress your body out, that means your stress hormones don't go up. What do stress hormones do? They hold on to fat cells. So when you're stressed, when your body is stressed, whether it be mentally, chemically, or physically, all types of stress increase your stress hormones. Exercise done incorrectly increases your stress hormones. One of the reasons a lot of you guys kind of just do the vibration plate, because I tell you it's great, but one of the reasons we do the vibration plate is we are stimulating those receptors in your muscles and tendons, your Golgi tendons and your muscle fibers, and it's bombarding your brain with positive impulses. And those positive impulses decrease your brain's perception of pain and of discomfort. And when you do that, it causes a reverse effect on stress hormones. In other words, your stress hormones go down. So just by standing on that vibration plate, you're actually reducing your stress hormones. When you reduce your cortisol, your stress hormone, you're actually releasing fat. So you're releasing fat to be burned in your body. Pretty cool thing. You didn't know you were releasing fat, but you were just by stepping on my vibration plate.
Can I take that home with me?
No. Everyone else would be so bummed out. So the premise there is that we want to work with the right kind of exercise. And so burst training, just to give you an overview, is doing bursts of exercise followed by times of rest. So 30 seconds of burst exercise, 30 seconds of rest. 30 seconds of, muscle work followed by 30 seconds of rest. And you do that over a shorter amount of time. So you can get a full workout in like 12 minutes. Whereas if you walk on the treadmill for 45 minutes, not only is your body now raising the cortisol levels, so you're holding on to the fat, but you're actually not getting the same kind of workout as you would with a burst training exercise. And this is becoming more and more research, which is cool. I've been teaching this for years, but now they're showing that the burst training actually has a positive effect hormonally. Because if you want to lose weight, you have to balance hormones, right? So learning that right kind of exercise. Now I recommend in my challenge, I recommend aerobic exercise. You'll see on this 30-day challenge, I recommend aerobic exercise 5 days a week minimum for a minimum of 20 minutes. Now what I mean by that is that you're either doing burst training or you're going for a walk or you're running or you're biking or you're swimming or whatever you like to do, but you're doing it as a surge and then a rest, and a surge and a rest, and a surge and a rest. So if you're walking, you walk fast for 30 seconds, and then you walk slow for 30 seconds. Fast for 30 seconds, slow for 30 seconds. So you're...
You do that on the treadmill then if you
Sure.
put it on low.
Yep, sure. But 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Now you can do more, and especially if you're an athlete and you want to do more, absolutely you can do more. You can do it more intensely and do a shorter amount of time, but that 20 minutes is that kind of time frame where it really, you're changing your body from a sugar burner to a fat burner. So this is an important concept, and this is one of the reasons I recommend the paleo diet. So the paleo diet means that you eat very little sugar. So almost no fruit, certainly no candy or pop or alcohol or any of that kind of stuff. You're just eating basically meats, like nuts and beans and stuff like that, as well as vegetables. No sugar. So what happens when you do that? When you're just taking in, complex carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. Well, your body says, well, the abundance of sugar is not here, so I'm going to start burning fat instead of burning sugar. When there's always sugar around, your body burns sugar. That's how it runs the machinery, right? That's the fuel for the cells, is sugar. So we want to change that. We want to turn that dial and make you a fat burner instead of a sugar burner. So if you consume very little sugar, including fruits and natural sources of sugar, then your body starts to burn fat more. And that the pathways for burning fat become far more ingrained. So you become a fat burner. And that's one of the great things about paleo diet that's been researched and researched and researched is people on a paleo diet burn fat. They don't burn sugar. That makes sense? So we also want to do that with exercise. So let's talk about nutritional changes, because obviously when people talk about weight loss, they talk about the diet and the exercise. Those are the two things. Whenever I talk to medical professionals, you know. Chiropractors, doctors, nurses, whatever, they always talk about diet and exercise. Everyone's diet and exercise. Well, diet and exercise. The whole problem, though, is that diet and exercise make up only a small component. The mental side is a huge side. So it's got to be mentally, physically, chemically. So I'll go over the nutrition stuff with you, but don't let the nutrition stuff be your big thing. It's not, nutrition is not as important as you think. So, for example, some people get super depressed when they binge or they go off. It's like, I can't handle it anymore, and they're at a ball game and they eat a hot dog and they drink a soda and all that stuff. It's actually, it's not good for you by any means, but if it's just that one time and you get right back on the horse, it's really not that big of a deal. So if your body's a fat burner, it won't instantly become a sugar burner after one time. Now here's the bad thing. So just like exercise, if you're in a groove exercise and you are exercising every day or every couple of days, and you do that for 30 days so it's ingrained in you, and then you stop, how long do you think before you lose all the benefits? 1 week. So you exercised for 4 weeks, you got in shape for four weeks worth, but it only takes 1 week to get back to where you once were. And the same is true nutritionally. So you can eat right, and your body starts to change the pathways, and you start becoming a fat burner instead of a sugar burner. But if you go back to your old ways for 1 week, you're kind of back to where you started from, where your body reverts back to being a sugar burner. So that's where it's important to stay on it. And knowing that, 1 day is no big deal. You need to get your cravings out of the way. Cool. 1 day. But not 5 days, 6 days, 7 days, because you know you're going right back to where you were. So let's talk about, well, I'm going to talk about, let's talk about cleansing. So I recommend that people do a cleanse before you do a weight loss program, or before you really tackle weight loss in general. Why do I recommend that? Because cleansing gets the toxins out of you. So everyone in here is holding a certain level of toxicity. Whether you are super clean and super clean with your food and super clean with your chemicals in your house and all that kind of stuff, you are still holding a certain level of toxicity because we breathe it in. It's in the carpets, it's in the food we eat, it's in the fluids, it's in the water we bathe in, it's everywhere. So there's always a certain level of toxicity. Of course, that's more when you are putting more toxins in your body. What's the number one source of toxicity that humans put in their body?
Sugar.
No, not sugar. Oh, that's a big one. Pesticides? No.
Water.
No. No idea?
Air.
I talk about it all the time, not air. It's medications. Everyone knows this. Medications is the number one. So if you're on lots of medications, you got to get off those medications as much as you can. I mean, not to say that all medications are bad, but all medications are toxic to your system. I can guarantee you that. In fact, one of my big problems with medications is that they don't research, you know, this is the bane of medical society. They say, we're scientific, we're medical doctors, we're super scientific, and no one else is scientific like we are. But they don't ask the right questions, in my opinion. So they could say, hey, here's an apple, an organic apple created by God, it's perfect. You eat that every day, and we're going to test this for your back pain. So we take randomized controlled studies, we do the whole thing, we have thousands of people with back pain, and they eat apple a day. And they conclude the apple a day didn't help back pain. So the apple a day is not beneficial for you, for your back pain. Right? That's science. That's exactly how they conclude it. And they could say you eat a Vicodin, so all the test studies, Vicodin, fake Vicodin, real Vicodin, whatever it is, and they conclude Vicodin is definitely good for back pain. Scientifically shown to be good for back pain. What they don't ask is, was the apple good for you? Did it make you a healthier person? Does a healthier person not heal better? You know, if you have back pain, there's a reason you have back pain. You need to heal from your back pain. They don't ask, does the Vicodin make you heal better? Does the Vicodin make you a healthier person? So what is the science worth? It didn't really show me anything. It showed me that someone that takes Vicodin all day has less perception of less back pain, but they're a sicker person as a result. That means they don't heal well. That means they're not functioning well. That means they're a less healthy individual than the person that had the apple. So what's the science worth? Listen to me. I'll lead you straight.
I take 12 different medications,
Right. So you need to get off at least half of those.
but I just stop them.
No, no, of course not. I'll help you through that. I mean, obviously you can't, especially if you're taking that much toxicity, and you have to be careful about how you stop and all that kind of stuff.
Is it worth doing
But-
the cellular cleanse when I still take medication?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, and here's coming back to the original point. We're all at a certain level of toxicity. So let's just say round numbers. Let's say you take a 100-pound vessel. It's not necessarily a human being. It's a 100-pound swimming pool or a 100-pound ball or anything. And it's got a certain level of toxicity. Let's say 10% of that vessel is toxic. So if I was to take weight loss to that vessel, and I'm going to let it lose 20 pounds. So I take that 100-pound vessel and I shrink it down to 80 pounds, but I haven't done anything for the toxicity at all. Does that person become more toxic or less toxic? More. The concentration is more. So that person then becomes into a state of emergency. It says, we're getting more toxic here. This is not good. We're not healthy. So it's going to struggle to do what? Gain more volume. It's going to struggle to get back to where it was. So your body doesn't want to become more toxic. So one of the cool things about doing a cleanse is you make that vessel, instead of 10%, it goes down to, let's say, 8 or 7%, and it naturally shrinks to find that same level of toxicity. So you actually will lose weight just by doing a cleanse. So that's a cool thing. But if you change your diet and do a cleanse and exercise, you're going to get, by far and away the best result. Because guess what? A lot of God-made foods are detoxing to our body. So they'll pull a lot of toxins out of your body. Even, in fact, one of the great cleanses out there is the whole foods cleanse. It's basically just vegetables that you puree or you put into a smoothie of some kind and you drink it. It tastes terrible, to be honest with you. And with kale and wheatgrass and all this other stuff, but it pulls all sorts of toxins out of you. So rather than do that, which is still good, I would rather do it like a cellular cleanse, which has got all that stuff down into a capsule where you can take the capsule and that pulls the stuff out of you. So that's why I recommend you do a cleanse, is get the body detoxed first so that it can handle a decrease in volume. Even if it's a 1 or 2 or 3 or 5% decrease in volume, if it's less toxic, you can handle more of a decrease in volume. Make sense? So that's why we do a cleanse. Now, there's a couple different types of cleanses. Actually, there's quite a few different types of cleanses. I prefer a cellular cleanse, which gets into the intracellular space. So a cellular cleanse gets into the fat cells, gets into the spaces between your muscle fibers, and it binds toxins there and pulls it into your bloodstream. Compare that with other cleanses, like there's colon cleanses, which cleans your colon. There's liver cleanses, which cleans your liver. There's kidney cleanses. There's other cleanses. There's also what we call whole body cleanses, which is really just, it cleans out your blood and your lymph flow. So it's not really a deep cleanse. Like for people who have never done a cleanse and who are very, very toxic, that's usually the one I recommend. And that's a much shorter duration. It's like a 7-day cleanse instead of a 30-day cleanse. But the cellular cleanse is generally very well received, and it's deeper than it takes those toxins, binds them, pulls them out to your bloodstream, and then you have a second component, the activated charcoal, which binds that and pulls it out of your body. So the cleanse is, anyone done the cleanse here? Yeah, a few people. So the cleanse is a very, very good step if you're going to try and lose weight, or if you're even just going to do, just a change your eating habits, which is really, I don't like the weight loss thing. It gets people to come to the class, and it's good for marketing and all that stuff, and you've probably heard it a million times on the radio and TV. But the whole weight loss thing is really not what I try and get people to do. I try and get them to change their way of thinking about foods and the way of eating, and then weight loss happens. Or weight gain happens. Some people need to gain weight, especially in certain areas. So, and the other thing is weight in itself is not the end-all be-all, of course. Weight is a measure of what gravity is doing to your body right now. I could say mass is a better one, or volume is a better one, but weight will fluctuate quite a bit from day to day. Weight, if you start putting on muscle mass, what happens to weight? It goes up. Does that mean that you're more unhealthy? Here's a true story. When I went for my life insurance, you have to go for the physical exam. Now, I had life insurance for 10 years and then it ended. So they said, well, to get another policy, you have to go for another exam. Cool. So I went, and they said, well, we can't give you the super premium rate because you're obese. And I went, are you kidding me? Should I show you a picture of me in my bathing suit? And they said, no, please, sir, don't do that. You're obese. We can see it by your chart, The reason that I am technically obese is that I am heavy for my size because of muscle, and I played a lot of soccer, and I still do. And so muscular-wise is heavier than fat. So they wanted me to fit into this little box. I don't want a box. I don't want any sort of guidelines of what I'm supposed to be, because there's really only one person. And that goes for blood pressure and cholesterol and body temperature and hair color and every factor that the AMA and so forth feels that they have to box you in. Blow that right out of the box and say, what am I supposed to be? If I'm eating healthy, I'm getting adjusted, I'm exercising, I'm working on my mental side, I'm detoxing, it is what is supposed to be. If it's a little high or a little low, that's cool. That's what you're supposed to be. God created the thermostat, not the AMA. By the way, how do they get those normals?
Just like you do any kind of normal. You take the high and you take the low.
You just average it out. So who's averaging here? I mean, they take thousands of people, some of whom are healthy, some of whom are sick, and they take the average of all people and they say, okay, well, 120/80 is your blood pressure. Oh, you're not 120/80. You need pills. Really? The average is tall people, short people, people from all different races and sexes and all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of like, well, I'm not average. So you don't even know what I'm supposed to be. But technically, according to the life insurance place, I'm obese. So there you have it. I'm not spiteful, though. In case you didn't notice. So let's talk about God-made foods, man-made foods, and addictions. Well, yeah, we'll talk about that first. So general rules, God-made foods is something that God made. What's man-made food? Something that man made. So the more packaged, the more processed, the worse it is for you. Pure and simple. High fructose corn syrup, guess what? Your body does know the difference between glucose and high fructose corn syrup. There is, the more processed it is, the worse for you. So white stuff, white salt, white flour, all those white things are tainted, bleached. Enriched. You know what an enriched bleach enriched flour is? They bleach all the goodness out of it, and then what? Then they added chemicals to it. Where are those vitamins made? In a laboratory. I think they actually kept the original goodness of that stuff. So those things you want to avoid as much as you can, the man-made stuff. So if it came in a can, it's been tainted by man. I just made that rhyme up. I don't know how I come up with this stuff. So the premise there is that vegetables, if you're going to eat lots of vegetables, you buy the vegetables. You cut them up. You can cook them if you want. You can steam them or even, whatever you want to do with them. But if it comes in a can, it has very little value for you. That's man tainted. If it comes as a processed vegetable-looking matter, it's probably no good for you. And I can show you all the chemicals they use. In fact, I have a list over there that has all the excitotoxins. Excitotoxins, when you eat them, they make the flavor seem better, like MSG. But they're incredibly unhealthy for you. You think God put excitotoxins in the food? Not at all. I mean, it is what it is. Organic is better than non-organic. Non-genetically modified, non-GMO foods is better than genetically modified foods. So the more natural, the more God-made foods, the better. That includes meat. So when you eat meat, grass-fed, or if it's a chicken, like free-range chicken, that kind of stuff. So the more commercial, the more man-tainted. You know, if you feed man corn, what happens? If I just ate corn all the time. Corn is a grain. What happens if I eat corn all the time? I get fat. If I feed cows corn, what happens? They get fat. So unless I'm preparing for the slaughterhouse, I don't want to eat corn. Corn is not that great of a thing. Now, if you're having corn on the cob once in a blue moon, cool. It's mostly sugar nowadays. It's mostly that carb, the very low germ. But, and especially if you're eating the real traditional type of corn, which, you know, the corn that came from South America that has all the different colors of kernels and stuff, that's like 50% germ. So it's a lot better for us. But I tell people just stay away from corn. Well, that means no McDonald's. Because guess what? McDonald's is fries, fried in what? Corn oil. It's soda, which is made of high fructose corn syrup. It's meat that's been fed what? Corn. And fillers that are essentially corn. Bread that's been sweetened with corn. You're eating corn. I mean, that's fast food. Why is corn so cheap? Because the government subsidizes it. So we couldn't raise it effectively and make a profit as a farmer if the government didn't subsidize it. So you're wondering why McDonald's is cheap, why you know, Burger King and Big Macs and why are all those cheap foods? Because the government subsidizes it. Think the government is doing us any favors? Heck no. They're making us fat. But we have an option to, you know, go a different route. You want to go the same route as everyone else, you'll end up in the nursing home with all the rest of them. But if you go a different route, you start eating differently, thinking differently, acting differently, you'll be the healthy one on the cruise ship. You'll be with me. I'll be teaching classes on the cruise ship.
With our obese.
Yeah. Yeah. If I'm eating corn, I'll probably eat corn while I'm on the cruise ship.
No, according to insurance company.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So I wanted to take one little time to talk about addictions, because addictions are a big part of eating. Addictions are, you're eating not for subsistence, you're not hungry, you're eating because it tastes good, it helps us feel better, that kind of stuff. One thing that I do recommend is that you sit down and say, what am I addicted to? Because a lot of times you don't know. You know, am I addicted to soda? Am I addicted to alcohol? Am I addicted to, you know, certain types of foods? Because when you know what you're addicted to, you know you have to avoid that, which means you don't have it in your house. If I'm an alcoholic, I don't want alcohol anywhere near me. I don't go to places that sell alcohol. I don't go with people that drink a lot of alcohol. I don't have alcohol readily available in my house, all those kind of things. You know, if I'm not addicted, if it doesn't bother me there, I just don't have it, then fine. But if I am addicted, that's a problem. So you just don't go to any restaurants that are serving things you're addicted to. You don't, you know, for example, like soda was a big vice for me. You know, I loved soda, and I drink soda all the time because it, you know, when I was thirsty, that's all I wanted. And I had to realize that I was addicted to soda. I mean, it was more than just, you know, thirst quenching. It was something that I wanted. And so breaking that addiction was tough. But the first part of any addiction, breaking any addiction, is to figure out, yeah, I am addicted. You just have to admit that to yourself and say, yeah, I'm addicted to soda, and you know, now I need to not have it in my house, not have it around me. When I do go and eat, I don't always order a soda, and you know, all that kind of stuff. You know, and it doesn't help that when you go to any of these places, they bring you out a bucket of soda with unlimited refills. You know, I was full before my dinner came because I was just drinking soda. Anyway, so fats is the second one. So I want to talk about fats because fats are not bad for you. If you want to lose weight, you need to eat fats. good fats. So what's a good fat?
Avocado.
Avocado, great fat. Good coconut oil, awesome fat. Saturated fat. Coconut oil saturated. We've all been led to believe saturated is the bad stuff, right? Trans-saturated. Coconut oil is saturated fat.
Coconut oil is man-made.
No, comes from a coconut.
Man has something to do with it.
Coconut oil is found within a coconut. So it's like avocado.
A man has to do it.
Well, yes, true. So when you have olive oil or you have coconut oil, it had to be pressed. But I'm not saying,
Okay.
oh yeah, oh gosh, yeah.
What about coconut? Is just coconut itself okay?
Yeah, sure. You can eat coconut with the fiber and all that stuff. I'm not actually a big fan of coconut, but I'm a big fan of cooking with coconut oil. So it's a saturated fat that's very good for us. When we put it in our body, it actually has a very different effect than like true saturated fat, which is vegetable oils. I tell people stay away from vegetable oils. Vegetable oils, especially when you heat them, then they become the bad saturated fat. But fats in itself are not bad. In fact, we want to eat fats because we want to become what kind of burners? Fat burners. So you eliminate sugars, but you can still eat good fats. What's other sources of good fats? Not peanuts, nuts, almonds. Peanuts are the worst kind of nut you can have. I recommend that we eliminate peanuts at all, completely. So peanuts actually have been shown to be, terrible on many levels. So almonds, though, very good. Fats in beans or legumes are very good. Fats, even in good meats, like healthy meats, fats are good. So fats are not something, now I'm not saying fry everything and hey, more fat the better. I'm saying that naturally occurring fats are very good. How about butter? Think butter's? Real butter is good. Real butter. How about margarine? Vegetable oils, all vegetable oils. And canola oil. Canola oil is, the can part is from Canada. It was developed in Canada. Terrible for you, even though it's stable in higher temperatures. So they all say, well, fry in canola oil, not very good for you. So good fats are very important. Now sugars. So we talk about fruits. Fruits have lots of sugar. If you want to become a fat burner, you have to reduce the amounts of sugar you take in, even if it's from natural sources, God-made sources. Now, what I recommend is that you do that for 30 days, and then you can slowly integrate some fruit in there, especially stuff that are low on the glycemic index, like berries have low glycemic index. I would eliminate stuff with real high glycemic indexes like watermelon, very watery type fruits that are highly sugar and mostly water and sugar, that kind of stuff. Like, for example, you get organic orange juice. You say, God, I love organic orange juice, but it's highly, highly filled with sugar. Because oranges have, naturally, oranges have a lot of sugar in them. So eliminate sugar, improve or increase the amount of fats you eat. What about breads? Grains, out. So paleo diet, grains, including corn, out. So a lot of people are addicted to bread. They love bread. My kids love their bread. I call my daughter Bagel because she loves her bagels. I say, this is going to kill you over time. So grains and stuff out. Grains were never really made for us. Like if you see wheat and stuff, even though we can create, stuff that tastes good and that, seems to be good for our body, it was never really designed for us. And if you look at the physiology of it, our bodies don't metabolize it well. So I recommend getting rid of grains. Why do we have so many allergies to glutens and grains and stuff like that? Because it's really not intended for us. I mean, that's a big thing. Now, does that mean that after your 30 days you can have once in a while some stuff like that? Yeah, probably, especially like wheat, full wheat, stuff like that. But I recommend just eliminating that almost entirely. What about milk? Milk products, cheese. Raw is not bad, but for the first 30 days, I recommend eliminate. Eliminate cheese, eliminate milk products. What about eggs? Eggs are good. Yeah.
Just say no yogurt.
Yeah, so the whole thing with eggs is they said cholesterol. Oh, eggs have too much cholesterol. Who's heard that? Who? Yeah. Who pushed that? Well, it was people that wanted to decrease your consumption of eggs. But the eggs themselves, you can eat all sorts of eggs, and it's been shown to be not increasing your cholesterol, your blood cholesterol. So it's diet has a factor, but it's hydrogenated oils that really increase your cholesterol, not naturally occurring sources of cholesterol. So eggs are very good. So you try and eliminate some of those types of foods and put in what? More really healthy meats or protein sources and more vegetables. So vegetables are pretty much fantastic for you in most ways. You can add some berries if you want to sweeten it a little bit. What about potatoes? Yeah, pure starch, pure sugar. So what about sweet potatoes? Yeah, sweet potatoes are actually allowed on the paleo diet. So they have much, much lower glycemic indexes, much lower sugar content than potatoes. So eliminate potatoes, eliminate things like pasta and that kind of stuff, and put in vegetable stuff. So for example, people that really like potatoes and they like their mashed potatoes and stuff, what I recommend is you take cauliflower, you steam it so that it's really soft, mash it, put your garlic, put your butter in there and your salt, mix it all up. The texture is just like mashed potatoes, and yet you can taste the cauliflower, but it tastes good. It's really good and much, much better for you. Much better for you. So lots of different things. Now in our book up there, the Maximized Living dietary plans, they have all sorts of different diet stuff, that recipes, all that stuff, so you can try different things. We're going to have a recipe night coming up probably early in May, and so we'll have everyone make a dish, come in, we'll all have dinner, and you can try all these different things, and so that'll be a cool thing to look forward to. So reduce or eliminate the refined sugar, we got that. So we talked about the cellular cleansing. So let's talk about the 30-day challenge.
How's honey? Is honey okay?
Honey's okay.
Honey's good.
Yeah. So so people that want sweet, of course there's Canadian syrup, maple syrup. It has to be from Canada. Because Canada trees are much better for you. So maple syrup's a great one. Honey is okay. Stevia, of course, is a great herb that you can use to sweeten things. Agave, I'm not too keen on, although it's better than sugar. If you need sugar, sugar in the raw. But, we're talking after the 30 days, so eliminate sugar. All those kind of things are good alternatives. So let's talk about the 30-day challenge. So the 30-day challenge, we've got 3 levels. Level 1 is the easiest, level 2 is medium, level 3 is the advanced level. Now, I've done kind of all 3. Every year I do level 3, I guess you would say. That's the paleo diet. So on the back, Dr. Trish made up this flow chart, which, I brought in the flow. I want to mention this because it's super cool of her to do this. I brought a flow chart, but it was all black background and all the wording was white. So we knew it wouldn't photocopy all that well, but we were going to do that anyway. And so Dr. Trish, who is sick today, stayed and did this for us. So thank you very much for Dr. Trish. So you can see up at the top, did it have a face? Yes, good, it's paleo. So you can eat animal products, it's meat, chicken, all that kind of stuff. Did it not have a face? No, it didn't have a face. Okay, so then you can go and say, well, would it have had a face if you didn't, pull it from a nest? In other words, is it an egg? Yeah, great. Eggs are okay. If it's not, no, it's probably a rock on the very. So, is it a fruit or vegetable? Yes, it is. It is a vegetable. Is it corn? Is it a potato? We know that corn and potatoes are out, right? If it's not, then it's paleo. So you can still eat it if it's not corn, it's not a potato, it's something else. It's like a sweet potato or something like that. Yeah, that's okay. Is it not a fruit or vegetable? Oh no, it's a nut. Yes, The only peanut that, or the only nut that you can't have is peanuts. So you can have other kinds of nuts, whether it be almonds or whatever it may be, even macadamia, which is high in fat. You want to, a little bit, but then it's paleo. So is it an oil? So if you're cooking with something, whatever it is, yes. Is it coconut, avocado, olive oil, or grass-fed butter? Yes, good. You got it. If it's not, if it's vegetable oil or any other kind of oil, canola oil, then it's not paleo, don't eat it. Simple as that. So is it a spice? Yes, you're allowed spices. Very cool. You can season your food, you can make it taste good. By the way, you see that I have not restricted calories. You eat, especially if you're using more calories, we want to set, now remember when I said that balance, that scale. So what you consume versus what you use. If you're exercising a ton and you're not consuming very much, you fall into this emergency state, this starvation state, where your body doesn't want to burn any fat because it thinks we're starving. We got to conserve as much as possible. So you want to just tilt that scale slightly. Use slightly more than you're consuming, because if you do that, you lose consistently. So a lot of people ask me how much weight should I be looking to lose, and that really varies from person to person. If you're, very heavy, then you will lose a lot. If you're quite thin, maybe 1 or 2 pounds. So you have to look at, kind of that, and sometimes you gain a little weight. But if you tilt that scale just slightly, then you will be losing weight, right? So I don't actually put any amount of calories you should be consuming. As long as you're on a paleo diet, you can eat, a lot and still not have a ton of calories. Anyone ever looked at the macaroni grill caloric, most of those,
Yeah.
I mean, one meal is like 3,000 calories. So if you look at, hey, I'll take the whatever, whatever dish you're preparing with chicken or whatever it is, and it comes and it tastes really good, but you just ate like 3 days worth. And it's really like that, 3,000 calories, and that's not even your drink. So, and that's not dessert or anything else. So you know that if you're just eating the meat and the vegetables, you're not putting in that many calories, but you're getting full. So you can really eat till you're full, or till you're almost full, and be satisfied and not worry that, wow, that was, I'm gorging myself. So eat so that you're satiated on a paleo diet.
What about soy?
Soy protein's okay. Soy protein, the cut against soy is that it turns into estrogen in your body, and in high doses it definitely does. So I try and restrict that. We went from drinking soy milk, because you don't drink milk. We went from drinking soy milk to almond milk. And it was a little. I'm not a big fan of the taste of almonds, to be honest. So it took me a little time to get used to the almond milk, but now that I'm used to it, it's good. So soy is okay, tofu and that kind of stuff, especially the non-genetically modified versions, but I wouldn't eat too much of it. Yeah.
What about the almond milk?
Almond milk's great.
You can have that on the paleo?
Mm-hmm. Yep, you betcha. And soy milk. Just no peanuts. Yep, no corn, that kind of stuff. So there's, if you walk through the store and you look at your flow chart and you say, well, can I have this? Well, okay, yeah, I guess I can have this. As simple as that. This flow chart is actually very comprehensive to knowing what you can and can't have. But really, if you look at all the sort of highlighted areas, is any of those man-made? No. So if it's man-made, it's not going to be paleo. So think of the Paleolithic, the caveman walking around. He eats vegetables and he eats, meat. He doesn't eat Twinkies and, peanut butter that's been processed with other oils and all that kind of stuff. And corn, that's been genetically modified and turned into this liquid sugar. That stuff is all man-made.
If you suggest to camouflage eight glasses of water a day.
Good question. So people that don't like water or don't like the taste of water, I recommend that you can do one of two things. One is you can get sort of nutritional powders that have a little bit of sugar in it, but they have mostly citric acid or vitamin C in it, which flavors the water, or sometimes they have stevia in it. A great thing that I do sometimes is the emergency packets. So you put that in, it has a vitamin C and it has lots of B vitamins, and it flavors the water just enough. Sometimes lemons. So if you
Can't
keep,
have lemon as long as it's in our water, right?
yep. Lemon's one of those exceptions. Lemon doesn't have a lot of sugar in it. So lime's the same way. So want to stay away from the sugar fruits. I recommend no fruit for the first 30 days anyway. But if you can't drink any water without something in it, you can find stuff. What you don't want to do is the diet drinks, the Crystal Lights and all that kind of stuff, because that's worse than sugar. I'd rather take, some, because you can do that where I have lots of friends that take water, the filtered water in a big jug, and they put a bunch of lemons on top, sometimes cucumbers on top, and they'll maybe put some honey in there and stir it up and just put it in their fridge, and every time they want water, they just take that. And, you get that little bit of flavor, so they're happy with it. It's really cold, so they're happy with that, and they just mix up a new one every day. So,
You recommend still water then?
yeah, still water.
Just still.
Yep. So the level 1, you'll see, is the easiest one. So 30-day cleanse, I still recommend you do the cleanse. So the eating healthy part is you just eat healthy foods. You cut out some of the bad stuff. The exercise part is 20 minutes, five times a week. It can be anything you want to do. Anything from walking to, it doesn't have to be real aerobically hard or anything like that. It's just 5 days a week. You commit to doing that 5 days a week. The level 2 is you're going to eliminate some other things. So in the level 1, you can still eat bread, you can still eat milk products, you can still have a few of those things. Level 2, you can't have that stuff. So level 2, you're really going more paleo. You complete the 30-day cleanse as well. And then level 2, you want to add some exercise. So you're doing 5 days of aerobic, just walking or doing whatever that is. Doesn't have to be super hard, but 20 minutes for at least 5 days. That you're at, in level 2, you're adding 3 sessions of either burst training or something more muscle working. So maybe that's a class, maybe it's burst training, maybe it's aerobics, or maybe whatever it may be. You're doing 3 of those a week. So it's 8 total sessions, but it doesn't have to be huge long sessions, just 8 sessions with, per week. So 5 aerobic, 3, sort of muscle building. Now you can do all those in the same day. So it's not like you have to do it every single day. You can do 20 minutes of aerobics and then 20 minutes of muscle stuff. But you want to do 3 muscle stuff and then 5 aerobics. And then the advanced level is the true paleo thing. So you are eating essentially protein sources, which can be a protein drink, by the way. So like the protein drinks we have up front and stuff like that, as long as it's a high quality and as long as it's not filled with sugar, please, if you get a protein supplement or stuff from the store, the low-end stuff is filled with sugar, sometimes even high fructose corn syrup. So you got to look to make sure it's not filled with sugar. It's got to be mostly protein. And it's okay if it's from a milk source, because you're not drinking milk. You're not taking lactose. You're basically taking just the protein. So protein sources are okay there, but you're eating vegetables and protein. You do the cellular cleanse, and then you're doing 1 additional time of burst training or exercise training. So you're doing 4 of those per week, as well as 5 aerobic for 20 minutes at a time. Sound good? So the paleo stuff is, let's talk about the 30 days after the 30 days. So when you're done the 30 days, then you can slowly add certain things. Now, I recommend that you stay on essentially a paleo diet, which would be, primarily your meals are proteins and vegetables. If you look back here at my thing, it says morning is you have your carbohydrates and proteins, lunch, vegetables, fruits, mild protein, fat, dinner is protein and vegetables, no carbohydrates. So that's a modified paleo, but it allows you to have fruits and some carbohydrates. So some pasta or some bread or that kind of stuff. So if you want to go back to that sort of thing, which is okay, you make sure that it's no carbs at night. So the carbs are primarily done in the morning when you have the whole day to burn them off. Whereas when you take it at night, guess what happens to it? Sits and it goes to what?
Sugar, fat.
Fats, right? So you're going to store it as fats. So when you take in mostly fats, you become a fat burner. When you take in mostly sugar, you become a sugar burner. So you want to make sure that your majority of your diet is fats, proteins, and vegetables or fiber. Make sense? Is there anyone who doesn't think they can do any level? Can everyone do at least level 1? Perfect. Now the other thing that we're doing as part of this, because I recommend that people do a cleanse once a year. So all the cleansing products that we have, we'll put them on sale for 20% off, so you can do that. If you want to do a different type of cleanse, because there's other cleanses out there, and some of them are good, some of them are not good, bring it to me and I'd be happy to evaluate for you, see if it works. If you want to do a cleanse like more, like for example, you want to do the real veggie cleanse, like where you're doing real veggies, putting them in a smoothie and stuff, bring that, what your plan is, I'd be happy to help you with that as well. But the easiest way by far is just to do a neuro cleanse or a cellular cleanse for 30 days. You take 4 capsules in the morning, 4 capsules in the evening, with 8 glasses of water throughout the day, and you're eating. You know, I don't recommend the master cleanse or the lemonade cleanse very much. That's a hard thing for most people to do. So, questions at all? God bless you all for being here. Thank you so much for your time.